Campbell's residence. Miss Campbell! Yeah, I know. Miss Campbell! How you doing? Oh?
Hello?
Heaven high.
Hi. Good morning, head. Your phone working?
Yes, you're going to come over to my house and make a call. Mark needs to speak to you.
No?
Well, you can take your phone.
I can't find my phone.
You can't find your phone?
I'm have to speak on your phone.
All right, I'm doing a recording to send to him as well. So tell him if you're all right.
Physically, we are okay. Thank God. But structurally, we are devastated. But we are still, downstairs is still okay. You need to come.
YouTube, what's happening? It's Mark here from Mark's Mind. I haven't done a video in ages. I know, I apologize. But I'm busy with many other things. Work related in my day jobs, etc. But it saddens me that I have to do a video for you guys now after the devastation of Hurricane Melissa that hit Jamaica last week. The western side of the country is absolutely devastated, flattened. It looks almost like an apocalyptic landfill. Thousands upon thousands of people have lost their homes. People with wooden houses, their houses have gone completely. People with concrete houses, their roofs have either blown off or caved in. People have died. We still don't know the exact amount of people who perished in Hurricane Melissa, but the numbers are going to grow exponentially, I think, as more people are found in the wreckage left behind. My parish of Westmoreland was hit hard. Parts of it wasn't. For example, Negril Beach. Most people who have been to Jamaica know Negril Beach, the beautiful 7-mile beach of white sand. Negril wasn't affected much under the circumstances, but other parts of Westmoreland were hit. The main town, Savannah Lamar, hit hard. Businesses destroyed, homes destroyed. Connecting parishes like St. Elizabeth with the town of Black River practically wiped out, or not practically, wiped out, completely flattened. Hanover, where my daddy's from, which is a parish above Westmoreland, hit hard as well. St. James, where people know about Montego Bay. The capital of St. James is Montego Bay. St. James was hit hard. Trelawney was hit hard. But maybe not as much as Westmoreland and St. Elizabeth that are southwest of the country. So yeah, I mean, I've been watching the videos of, you know, the drone video footage of places, and as the cameras are spanning over, you're just seeing like houses, no roof, no roof, no roof, no roof, roof, no roof, no roof, no roof, no roof. Since the hurricane hit, I haven't even been able to get in direct contact with my parents because the phone networks are down, phone lines are down, they don't have electricity, so that means no Wi-Fi. I have been fortunate that a neighbor in our scheme, he has Starlink, so I've been able to communicate with my parents through him. My mum couldn't find her phone. My dad's phone, I don't know what happens with my dad and his phone. He never answers it, or I don't know, he keeps turning down the volume or whatever. But it's under normal circumstances, it's hard to get my dad on his phone, so I usually ring the house phone. But there are no phones to ring, so my neighbor, he has been the bridge between me and my parents in the last week. I think the last time I spoke to my parents, mainly my mum, was last week, Monday, just before the brunt of the hurricane hit land. And my dad was in the background, and he said a few words. And at the time I asked, how are things? And she said, well, it seems okay so far. And it's raining a bit, it's a bit windy, but it's not bad. But this was before the real brunt of the keep saying earthquake when I talk to people, not earthquake. I'm in Japan, and earthquakes are always at the forefront of our minds when it comes to natural disasters. But the hurricane hadn't hit properly yet, and then by Tuesday, I guess, it hit, if my timeline is right, and after that there was no contact. Text messages weren't going through and that type of stuff. And I was worried, and I started reaching out to some neighbors, couldn't get through to them, started reaching out to their kids who are also living abroad like me. They couldn't get through to their parents. And then one childhood friend of mine who lives in North Carolina, he suggested reaching out to the neighbor who has a Starlink. So I had his details and I reached out to him. I think I left him a voice note initially, and he responded. And he told me that, yeah, my parents' house was extensively damaged. The roof over my mum's bedroom, the upstairs part of the house, caved in, basically. The biggest part in my mum and dad's bedroom. And I thought how he had described it, I thought it has like two roofs like this. I don't know what you call that type of roof, if you want to call it the A shape, but the house has two of those. And the front bit, from the pictures I got from my neighbor, it looked like the entire thing had gone, but actually maybe about 25% of it was left behind, but still some damage. And the other A roof that I thought was okay, it turns out that all the, I guess you could call them shingles, those kind of tile things that go over the wood, those were all blown off as well. So, I had to brace myself for that, but I was extremely thankful that my parents were okay, because in past hurricanes, what my parents do, they go down to the lower level, which is like we call it the family room, which is under my parents' bedroom. So they usually go down there for safety in the event of damage to the roof. But we've gone through so many hurricanes over the years, from Gilbert, Ivan, Beryl, all of them. The house stood up, the roof stood up. But this time around, it just wasn't to be. The house has extensive damage. The living room floor, and the house is kind of like a split level, so it has like 3 levels. It has like a kind of half basement where my parents stay, and then it has the upper level where you have the dining, kitchen and living with a veranda, or one veranda. Then you go upstairs again to the main bedrooms and the bathrooms. And I had to absorb the shock of the house getting hit hard. But I was really grateful that my parents were okay, because if my mom was upstairs, dad was upstairs when that roof caved in, I'd be doing a very different video right now. And I'd be frantically trying to sort things out from Japan. But luckily, they always stay downstairs. The feeling I have while I'm relieved that my parents are okay, the feeling I have is a feeling of hopelessness. I'm in Japan teaching English working at a few universities, and we are in the middle of term. So I can't just pick up and go to Jamaica. The Montego Bay Airport, which is the closest airport to us, was wiped out as well. I've heard that the Kingston Airport is open, but separate to airports being open and whatnot, the fact is that I am stuck in Japan because we have summer break, we have winter break, and then we have spring break, and the universities expect us to do all our vacationing during that time. And when it's term time, they expect us to be there because it becomes extremely difficult if teachers are absent and trying to organize makeup classes and all that stuff. So I'm kind of stuck here, but at the same time, it's good that I'm stuck here, because if I went to Jamaica now and if I were at my parents' house, I couldn't really coordinate things the way I've been able to coordinate things here all the way from Japan, because we have Wi-Fi, we have internet. I can pick up the phone and call people and get help. So it actually works out better me being here, even though my mom desperately wants to see me, my dad wants to see me. But unfortunately, because of the work situation, I have to be stuck here for the moment. You know, if I just picked up and left, you know, next thing you know, I'm out of a job. That's just the way it is in Japan. But at least I can coordinate things. Over the weekend, my cousins on both sides of the family, so on my dad's side of the family and my mom's side of the family, they're closer to me in age. They went down between Saturday and Sunday and took my parents' supplies. And, you know, they took pictures, they filmed video footage of the damage. And yeah, it's heart-wrenching to look at the state of the house, how it is now compared to how it used to be. You know, I remember when my parents built that house in the mid-80s. It was a spectacular house and remained a spectacular house for years. My dad was a truck driver. My mom managed the family business, which is kind of a hardware and furniture kind of place. That was in our local town, Savannah Lamar, commonly called Sav. And, you know, my dad busted his ass working around the clock to first have the money to buy the land and then to build it with some of his money and most of it coming from a mortgage. My dad wasn't estranged. My dad lived with us, but he wasn't there. 5-6 days a week, my dad was on the road, driving, you know, 24/7, sleeping on the road. I remember he would leave out. When he would leave out for the start of the week, maybe like on a Sunday night, he'd leave out around 8 o'clock. Him and the sidemen, and they would maybe have a load of sugar, because where we live is close to the sugar factory. And he had contracts with the sugar factory, the rice factory, the flour people. He had a contract with Sealy, the people who make mattresses. So he would leave out on a Sunday night, and I wouldn't see him again until maybe like the following Saturday or Sunday, because he would be driving stuff during the night, drop something off, pick up something else somewhere else, and then take it across the country. And he was basically living out of his truck, you know. And I remember my mom would always pack him a fresh pillowcase, and, you know, he would sleep on the truck. And he was working around the clock to be able to pay his mortgage, right? My father worked hard, and this house is a part of his legacy. Myself and my brother, yes, we're part of his legacy too. But the house was also a big part. It it was proof of his hard work. And, you know, I think about during that time as well, during my childhood, you know, seeing, you know, my dad working and wondering why he wasn't there. And I'd say to my mom, like, where is daddy? When is he coming home? And she'd be like, he'll be home by the weekend, kind of thing. And yeah, to see, you know, I've seen videos of him filmed by my cousin, and he just looks kind of like, he looks like a shell of himself. You know, my dad now is what, 82, my mom's 77. They're elderly, and I can't imagine them having to deal with this type of stuff. They're not completely by themselves, you know, but they're elderly. You know, they don't have the strength to pick things up and move them out, and, you know, the roof has caved in on their bed, bathroom destroyed. I'll most likely put up some footage of the house before and after, kind of thing. But it is stressful for me being so far away from them and not being able to help them as I want to. You know, I don't have an unlimited amount of money. And even if I did, you have to remember that it's not just like a few houses that are affected after the usual hurricane. We're talking about a multitude of houses. Like, we're talking about thousands upon thousands of houses. So there is more demand for contractors than there are contractors. Luckily we have some insurance, and from what I gathered, and I insisted that my cousins get me the information for the insurance policies. We have insurance. I'm not sure even if the insurance is going to be able to cover all of the damage. But we'll hopefully we can make it work. We can hopefully make it work. We are in a fortunate situation compared to many. Some people have nothing. We're talking about their homes, and, you know, it's now rubble. My parents at least have the bottom part of the house that they can stay in. The roof hasn't been secured yet with the tarps that my cousins brought down, but I'm trying to coordinate with the same neighbor who has Starlink, who I communicate with. I'm trying to coordinate with him to see. I think he has people working on his house now to secure his roof, and I'm hoping to get his people to at least put the tarps up to cover the roof so that further rain doesn't cause further damage. My parents seem to be in good spirits, considering. I guess when you're in the same boat as everyone around you, it doesn't seem so bad, and we do have a few people coming to help, which we're grateful for. I was so grateful that my cousins were able to go down from Kingston. The cousins on my mom's side, it took them about 8 hours, so their journey was like double the time. They said that they left out a bit late because they wanted to get some supplies at the supermarkets and stuff before they went down. So they left Kingston around noon and didn't get there until maybe like 8:30, close to 9. Then my other cousins came in early. I think they left Kingston like 4 a.m. and they got in maybe about 9ish. Because by then some of the major roads were cleared so they could get through, but they couldn't stay long because there was another person they had to assist on their way back to Kingston, which they did. My cousin told me today. So it's rough. The country's devastated. You know, it has hit our family for the first time in a big way, because we have been like Neo dodging bullets in the Matrix over the years of all these hurricanes. Our roof has stood up until now. This Melissa, these winds of 180 something miles per hour were no joke. And yeah, we couldn't dodge this bullet this time. So, you know, I started a GoFundMe, and I've started to get some donations from friends and family on Facebook, and I'm also doing this video as well, hoping that we can get further donations from my followers on YouTube. It doesn't matter the amount, any little bit helps. Because even though we have insurance, we don't know how much of the damage is going to be covered by insurance. We don't know when we're going to be able to get money from the insurance, because remember, we're talking about thousands of homes probably putting in claims if they even have insurance, right? So I started a GoFundMe. Like I said, it's starting to pick up a bit. You know, every bit helps. So to my followers on YouTube and anyone watching this video, if you can find it in your heart to give anything, you know, $5, $10, $20, $100, $1,000, whatever you can afford to give. You know, economically, the world is in a strain. People don't have a lot of disposable income. You know, economies are in shambles. Cost of living is high. So, you know, I completely understand that people don't have a lot of disposable income. But, you know, as we say in Jamaica, one cocoa full basket. So every little, we're talking about like cocoa pods I used to make chocolate. We're saying a cocoa at a time adds up together to fill that basket. I'll use that money for my parents, to secure the house and to get some repairs done, and to help with the, you know, trees have fallen in the yard. You know, I saw, you know, like the mango trees, coconut trees. I think we had a jackfruit tree to the side of the driveway, and there's a Jamaican fruit called naseberry. It's a brown fruit, really delicious. I think those trees fell and hit the side of the house as well, so there might be some damage there, separate to the roof, or the roofs, separate to the flooring, separate to the damage caused internally. I spent, maybe 2.5 years ago, I spent a bit of money modernizing the bathrooms in the house, to get them up to, you know, a more modern look. Sent stuff from Japan, you know, the medicine cabinet that I like from Japan. I sent it down, had the bathrooms redone, had the roof kind of redone or reinforced. The shingles, if you want to call those tiles on that lay on top of the wood, had those reinforced, and the skirting of the roof redone, because the roof had the wooden strips. I don't know what you call that bit. I'm not a construction worker. But the skirting bit, if you want to call it that, I had the roof, the wooden parts replaced, because some of it had termites. And then Melissa came in and did her thing. So, you know, we're back to square one with the bathrooms. We're back to square one with, well, my mum's bedroom. And I'm going to post some footage and stuff. But I'd appreciate any help that you can give me to help my parents. And, you know, I'll try to post some links as well in the description of this video for other organizations. An old school friend of mine, he runs a foundation. I think it's called DTR Foundation. I'll find a link for his thing as well, because he's helping people locally in Westmoreland, in Savannah Lamar in particular, where we grew up and went to school. So any help would be appreciated. The country has never seen anything like this before. We've had hurricanes over the years, and we've bounced back. You know, fallen trees have grown back, or whatever. The flora and the fauna eventually recovered, and the green was back. What do we have last year? Beryl, I believe, that hit in July. My fiance and I went down in August, and the country was, you know, it wasn't bad. It wasn't bad, but, you know, what I see now is apocalyptic. It really is, and it's heartbreaking to see so many people homeless, people dead. I'm just worried about disease. You know, if people don't have clean water, what type of diseases could break out, typhoid, whatever could break out. I remember years ago when I was a child, there was a typhoid breakout in my town, a typhoid outbreak in my town in the local market. It had to be closed and whatnot. So who knows what could come with when it comes to disease, what could happen. So there's all of this, people not having access to their medication, people not having access to food, because in our local town, I imagine the supermarkets, they were ripped to shreds. I imagine banks were ripped to shreds. So people might not be able to have access to ATMs to take money out, all that type of stuff. So I asked my cousins to give my parents some cash in the interim, to cover just like anything that comes up immediately, food wise or whatever. But they should be hopefully covered for food right now. But any help that you can offer would be greatly appreciated. And I'll keep you guys informed on what's happening with the house and my parents. I can just imagine the fright my parents must have felt, because the family room where they normally stay during hurricanes is directly under their bedroom, and when that roof caved in and that crashing down, I can only imagine how they must have felt. My dad looks shell-shocked. My mum, she seems to be holding up under the circumstances. My mum's a very religious woman, and she thanks the Lord and prays to the Lord. So she finds comfort in, the Lord sparing them. And I do too. Could have been a lot worse. I was talking to a friend of mine. We went to school together. We went to boarding school together. His dad was a childhood friend with my mum. They also went to the same high school. And he said his dad's roof caved in as well. His dad had to sleep in his car. But again, he's grateful that no one died. So far, touch wood, no one I know has perished in this hurricane. But I really feel hopeless and helpless, being thousands of miles away from my parents and not being able to be there for them, just to at least give them a hug and let them know that things will be okay. I mean, the earliest I could possibly go down is maybe just around Christmas time when we break for the winter. But the cost of that as well, it's not cheap to go from Japan all the way to Jamaica. It's like going from Japan to America is okay, but then when you tack on the America down to Jamaica part, the price just jumps exponentially. So that in itself, it's tough. We went last year when I had a bit of disposable income left over from some money that I had, but yeah, that money's depleted. And it's trying to build up again to get to a point. So any help that you guys could offer would be greatly appreciated. I want to go see my parents. I want to hug my mom. My daddy's 82, and when he rings me now, he's like, when you're coming? And he said, I'm 82, I don't have long. He's always telling me that he doesn't have long. He's always telling me that he has one foot in the grave. So I know he wants to see me before he passes. But I say, be positive, if you take care of your health, you could have another 5-10 years. Now, my dad is diabetic, so he grapples with that. He's taking his medication. What is it called? I can't remember. Metformin or something like that he takes with meals. And he's always telling me, be careful with your health. You don't want to get this disease. It's a killer, and it really is. My mom, health-wise, she doesn't have diabetes or anything like that, but she does have heart issues. She has anxiety as well. So when the anxiety kicks in, She gets palpitations. Her doctors see scarring from what they think may be mild heart attacks. So I worry about both of them. Funerals and stuff. It's just a part of life. And I do want to go see my parents before, that stuff comes about. I don't even want to talk about it. I know it's a part of life. It's a reality, but I love my parents dearly, and to not be able to fully help them as much as I'd want to, it's tough. It's tough. And my situation is bad with not being able to go, but there are people in far worse situations than what my parents are in. It's easier, like when you're my age. I'm 51, and at my age, I can lift heavy things, I can move things, I can do all of that. My daddy's 82. He's basically half the man he was. He doesn't have the strength. My mom too. Our house has stairs going up and down stairs. It's not easy for them. I see her walking and she's grabbing onto the rails. And when I was in Jamaica last year, I could see the deterioration in my parents in terms of just aging. So, and you see, you can see the aging on someone's face, like, yeah, they're getting older. We're all getting older, but, when you see them, like, yeah, I think I hadn't seen my parents for like a year and a half before that. And I hadn't seen them before that time. I hadn't seen them for 3.5 years during the COVID years, because I wasn't traveling during that time. And every time you see them, their health has deteriorated. You can see more life drawn out of them. So it's tough to see that. I find, like, with my dad, growing up with my dad, my dad is one of those old school, tough kind of men. A man doesn't show his feelings, a man doesn't show his emotions. You bottle that crap up inside and you get on with life. But in recent years, I've seen him really let his guard down. Like, we hug a lot more than we ever did. I think, if I'm to tell you this story about my child, it kind of makes me, Alright, let me just tell you what happened. So, when I was younger, I was 11 years old, and it was the common entrance exams in Jamaica. These are the exams that you take at the end of elementary school before you go into junior high school. Now in Jamaica, we don't really say junior high. We say high school. So when you're in elementary school, you have 2 chances to take the exam. The first time I failed, and I was extremely disappointed, and I cried my eyes out at school in morning devotion. And I promised myself in that moment that I would study my ass off to pass the next year. And it was January 1986. Took the exam, and our results would come out in June. And what they did, for anyone who passed the common entrance exams, they would publish your names in the newspaper, and it would show what high school you're going to go to. You had to initially put down like your first and second choice. So I remember the morning I was actually off school. It was a Friday. I was off school. I had a cold. And my mom said, just stay home. And she drove down to the local shop just at the crossroads, Mr. Sergiu's place, and she bought the newspaper. And I remember being at home, and my parents had a Datsun at the time that they had brought from the UK back in the 70s. And I remember the Datsun had a very distinct horn. And I could hear my mum driving up from the main road, and she was burp, 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 burp. blowing the horn, and I knew basically that I passed. And she drove into the driveway, and she said, "Mark, you passed your exam." And she hugged me, and my dad was there. You know, he's normally not at home, but he was there. And in that moment, my dad, I was so proud of myself for the work that I put in that year. And in that moment, I so wanted a hug from my dad. And all I got from him was a handshake. That's all I got from my dad, a handshake. And I felt, I can't describe the feeling I had inside that moment, because I just wanted him to hug me and tell me that he felt proud in that moment. And fast forward now, I'm in London. I finished university. My mum, she flew over to London for my graduation because my dad couldn't go. And we were having a heart-to-heart. I had a one-bedroom flat in London, and my mum and I were sharing a double bed. And we were having a heart-to-heart. And I was telling her about that moment when I wanted that hug from my dad. And I said to her, "Don't tell him anything. Don't say anything to him." And my mum be my mum. She went back to Jamaica, and what did she do? She told him. And she told him. And when I went to Jamaica the next time after that, I didn't know that she told him, but I got to the airport and my dad hugged me for the first time since I don't know when. Maybe he might have hugged me when I was a toddler or something. And I said to my mom, "You told him, didn't you?" And she said, "Yes." And since that time, we're talking about this, I would have been in my late 20s at this time, because I started university a bit late, because I was working to build up money to go to university. And since that time, my dad and I have become a lot more affectionate with each other. I remember when he was going in for a hernia operation, and I must have been in my 30s by this point, maybe late 30s, I can't remember when it was, but he was going in. I think by then I was living in Japan, so we were talking about anywhere from 2001 onwards, can't remember, yeah. And he's told me he was going in for his operation, and he was kind of telling me about his paperwork and documents, and if he doesn't make it through the operation. And my dad said to me on the phone, he said, "Son, I love you." This is something my dad has never said to me. I've never heard my dad say, "I love you." And he said it in that moment. And I think now about really wanting to just hug my parents and tell them I love them. You know, when I was growing up in Jamaica, Jamaican culture, maybe it's just I don't think it's just my family. But you know, when you watch American movies and people tell each other they love each other a lot. "I love you, Dad. I love you, Mom." You watch, we never grew up like this. But in later years, you know, I talked to my parents on the phone. "All right, say see you, bye." But now we tell each other we love each other. Mainly with my mum. And if I forget to say it, she said, "You're not going to say you love me?" You know, kind of jokingly. And you know, I just want to be there for my parents, to give them a hug and reassure them in person, because I can do it over the phone when they get back online. Just to reassure them that things are going to be okay. And My mum couldn't find her phone. Did I say that? My cousins helped her to find the phone. They found the little solar pack thing so she can charge her phone. The plan is over the next 24 hours at some point. With a time difference, we're 14 hours ahead of Jamaica. She'll go to the neighbor's house with a Starlink, connect to his Wi-Fi, and call me through WhatsApp, and I can talk to them and tell them what I've been coordinating from over here. But yeah, again, if you can help my family, I'd appreciate it. If you can help other Jamaicans, not just me, it would be selfish of me to ask you to only help us. You know, I have my brand Extreme Teas, which has been a back burner business for me. I haven't been on YouTube promoting it and trying to get sales, but I think what I want to do is anyone who purchases anything from my website, from the profits, I'll take 10 or 15% of the profits to send to people in Jamaica, because a lot of people are in need. So, you know, in addition to helping me, you can help other people, or you can purchase something from our website. The website is still active, the products are there, and I you know, after my expenses are covered, I have to cover my expenses. My suppliers print my t-shirts or hoodies or caps or whatever. After my expenses are covered, whatever is left, whatever little profit is left, it's not a great markup on my products, because the people who do print on demand, I think they get more money than I do. They provide the platform and they do all this stuff. So I'll take 10-15% of what's left and send it to foundations that my friends in Jamaica, DTR Foundation, and anyone else that I can find, because yeah, the western side of the country is hit hard. But I appreciate your time. I know this video went on for ages, but you know, yeah, I do chat a lot sometimes. But thank you so much for watching. I appreciate your time, and when the dust settles on all of this, I promise to start putting out more content. To excuse the sniffling, I've been kind of crying and half crying, right? I'll put out more content, because there's a lot of stuff I want to talk about. I've been actually writing things down, making a list of what I want to talk about. So yeah, that's the situation. But thank you so much for watching. This has been Mark from Mark's Mind. Until the next video, take care guys. Peace and love.
No roofs have shingles, so water leaks through. No shingles on the outside. Water water underneath the boards. No damage here. Just broken windows and water. But they're right down here. So I brought supplies.
Sounds good. Auntie Daphs. When last time you saw the phone was during or before the hurricane? Before.
Who is that?
For Mark.
Mark.
Oh.
Say love you, baby.
It was prior to the hurricane. I don't know. You know, my mind went on the cupboard.
Say Marco.
The cupboard?
I'm taking a video. For sure, man.
My mind went on
Alright, ready?
the bucket.
And I'll send you some pictures. Generator in the liquor room down there. Power to fridge.
You normally put it in there?